On this date yesterday, in 2018, Rajon Rondo allegedly spit on Chris Paul, and things obviously escalated from there. Perk, can you believe this was 2 years ago already?
I can't believe it, but I could believe that it happened. These guys been beefing their whole career. They both wanted to smoke. Look, it's been cloudy outside, George. We were just waiting on the thunderstorm.
Hey, people were actually on LeBron for paying too much attention to Chris Paul instead of his own teammate. Now he and Rondo have rings.
I know. It's wild. And he was one of the guys he embraced first, actually, when he won that ring, and the longest embrace there. We're judging those things. Not that we should be. But anyway, let's move on. Duncan Robinson, speaking of the Lakers and that series, revealed on the Titus and Tate podcast that the Lakers bench was yelling Jimmy Neutron at him. Perk, do you think that D-Rob looks like Jimmy Neutron? I can see it. I think the Lakers were on to something.
Yeah. Yes, he do.
Listen to Perk. Is this even an insult? I mean, it's being compared to like a cartoon hero. I'd like to be compared to Jimmy Neutron.
I love it. I do think he looks like Jimmy Neutron a little bit. I think he should roll with that. I think that should be his new nickname. Duncan Neutron Robinson. Just roll with it.
Perk loves it. Perk loves it.
All right, let's stick with the Heat here. Brian, this team obviously came really close to winning it all this past season. They were within 2 games. So what do you think they need to get over the hump as we look at this upcoming season?
Well, I think what they would say, George, if Eric Spoelstra is here, is they need health. They would gladly take the finals over tomorrow with a healthy Goran Dragic and Bam Adebayo. They don't really think they need anything. Now, look, they have grand plans to chase guys like Giannis Antetokounmpo in free agency, and so I have to acknowledge that. But in the short run, I think they could maybe do better with a more athletic starting small forward. Now, I don't want to disparage Duncan after we've just called him Jimmy Neutron, but he's a bit more of a specialist. Now, he may prove me wrong, he may develop, but he was attacked often on defense, and the Heat had to go zone because teams were attacking Duncan Robinson. They may do better if he was more of a specialist off the bench long term, but we'll see.
Perk, you used to call them, or you called them during this run, the, quote, goons from the 305. So what do the goons from the 305 need?
They don't need anything. I strongly believe that the Miami Heat could run it back. When you look at this team, we finally could put the super in front of the star when we talk about Jimmy Butler. What he did in the NBA Finals was phenomenal. We looking at Bam Adebayo. I said that he's a top 3 big in this league, and I'm going to stand by that. He was injured in the finals, and he wasn't 100%, so we didn't see the best Bam, but he was still productive. And then you look at Tyler Hero. This kid is a stud in the making. I believe that he will make the All-Star team next year. So I'm looking at this Heat roster. The sky's the limit. Goran Dragic went out during the finals, a guy who was playing phenomenal throughout the playoffs, averaging close to 21 points a game, 50% from the field, 40 from the 3. I'm not changing anything if I'm the Miami Heat. I think they're just fine where they're at. They got the best coach in today's game in Eric Spoelstra, and they're going to be perfectly fine. And I strongly believe that the Heat could run it back and make it to the finals again next season.
The East is going to be really fun. The top of that East is going to be really, really competitive. So much stuff certainly there, and so many teams that are going to be in the mix, including the Miami Heat, as long as they're healthy. So, look, at the top of the show, we gave you the breaking news that the Pelicans hired Stan Van Gundy to be their next head coach. Before we go, Perk, did they get the hire right?
Look, I love Stan Van Gundy, but, I got to shoot it straight from the hip. And no, I don't believe that they got the hire right. I'm going to stand by it. I thought they should have hired a guy like Jason Kidd or Mark Jackson, and that's just my opinion. I strongly believe that they didn't make the right hire.
So,
George, this was such a difficult hire to make, and I think that's what you have to realize. You have to look at the hand that David Griffin was holding, and you have to realize that the level of coaches out there, there just wasn't a lot that fit this bill. I know Perk disagrees with me here, but I think it was a hard hire to make, and I think they hired a guy who they think is going to be successful.
Yeah, look, I'm a fan of Stan. I think as far as his coaching acumen is concerned, I think that he's one of the better coaches we have in this league. And I think that he's going to get that chance to prove that again. You know, it's been a long time since that Orlando team went to the finals, but not long enough where I forgot how good a coach he was. And here's what Stan had to say about the news on Twitter. I'm excited to join a talented New Orleans Pelicans team. It will be my honor to work with our players and to work for Mrs. Benson and David Griffin, Trajan Langdon and their staff, and the great people of New Orleans. I can't wait to talk to our players and get the process started. Now, it's interesting, Brian and Perk, because you know, people forget that Orlando team, they were one of the first spread the floor teams, kind of 4 out with Dwight Howard. Now everybody plays 5 out, it seems like. But Brian, this is someone who was certainly innovative for his time.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why I think that this means J.J. Redick is probably not getting traded because he has such a connection there. It's one of the reasons why Redick thrived when he played for Stan in Orlando. But this team's got some big decisions to make. They're obviously going to re-sign Brandon Ingram, but they have to decide whether Lonzo Ball is worth extending as their franchise point guard. They have to decide what to do with Derek Favors as a free agent. And we talked about Drew Holiday already. There's a lot of heavy lifting for David Griffin and Stan Van Gundy heading forward here.
Well, this is how I feel about it. I strongly believe that hopefully that Stan Van Gundy has had a chance to look himself in the mirror and say, I have to adjust. We watched the great Greg Popovich say, I have to adjust. This is not the old days. So hopefully, you know, with his time away from the game, he's going to come in with a different mindset, a different attitude, and know that this is not back in the day. This is a new generation. These young players are different than what they were 5-10 years ago.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.